When you wake up to the total deception of this reality, as written in the book of Revelation, that Satan, the ancient serpent, who shall deceive the whole world? So, this reality that is being run by Satan at this stage is totally a counterfeit reality. So, it's like having counterfeit money that you can still trade and buy stuff with, but unless you are caught, then you get into trouble. So humans, they have to wake up and realize and hold Satan and his minions accountable for selling you a counterfeit life. Every facet of this reality is a decision made by Satan and his minions for all and every individual living human being. So, as we've progressed in this fall, because we have been falling since the beginning of time, and this right now, this time is the end times, and the total fall is seen during the end times. And apparently the end times fall is the worst and the darkest of all the falls, because all the falls, previous falls, are combined in the end times fall, and it is and it has a global status. So every human being is being tricked by Satan. So everything you've thought, you've done or made personal decisions for, such as, let's say, something as natural as falling in love with someone, that love that arises in your heart, and you want to do everything for that person, and you marry them and you build a beautiful home with them and have children. Even this is counterfeit, because Satan and his minions were plotting your life from the time you were born, and they also pair up people. They also establish families and also decide which house you buy, where you live, how much land you have, what kind of house you have. So your entire life, which you think like, oh, I liked this house and I picked it, but it's not. Someone else is making that decision. So the entirety of your life and all the major decisions that you have made was made via Satan and his minions. So Satan can literally come into your body and think, act, and speak for you without your knowledge. So they have this supernatural ability, or this system of God, the system of Father, which Father uses in his prophets as well, is used by Satan. So he can literally come into your body and say, okay, I want this house and I want to marry that person and I want to go to that university. And you think you are thinking those thoughts, but someone else is thinking those thoughts in your thinking style and thinking in your voice. So they're taking your position, dropping into your body and making decisions for you. So this entire reality is a counterfeit reality, and it's not the real thing. It's the real thing, but there is a version of it that looks real, but it's not, especially in the Western world. And people that tend to follow a materialistic lifestyle, a life without God, that move away from tradition and culture, that move away from their own personal cultural holy laws that were made to protect and keep people within certain bounds, not to hold you down, but to protect you from these types of very invasive forces that know how to make you break the holy law. Like they can influence you to break the holy law so that you are like a Westerner that can be programmed into anything. So the entire contamination of this whole reality has like reached is its max, as in like the contamination has covered every facet of this reality, and we are just waiting for the last one, which is the mark of the beast, so that Satan can literally bring his counterfeit power to the world, and not even let people buy anything without his mark. And only his mark will allow you to purchase things that you need, though that is a counterfeit state. And it is the most difficult spiritual layer that you have to discern where to find God in that case. The mark of the beast will be the most difficult layer to understand and overcome when it comes to what Satan is applying with the mark of the beast architecture, which is your ability to buy and sell, which will encompass every facet of your life, such as food, clothing, mortgage, water, everything. So that will be the most difficult thing to overcome. Whereas previously, such as say the pandemic, like you could get away with not getting the vaccine, but with the mark of the beast, it will be a really, really spiritually difficult layer, and you really have to find God in that situation, and you have to really use your discernment, because the mark of the beast, even if you get it, God's punishment for that is great. So this Western system lifestyle is the greatest satanic trap that you will ever have experienced, and many people from many countries have been funneled and immigrated into Western systems without our consent and without our knowledge, and basically without our consent, because we have been put through war scenarios and made homeless by Satan and his minions, so that they can funnel us into these Western model system of working hard for a Western lifestyle, whereas previously we did not need the Western lifestyles, and the homes were just passed down, water was given in the well, and electricity was fire, so we were not compromised. So when we were living in the ancient system of Father, we just had fire, lamps, or candles for light, and we had water that was like a communal water, like a well or a communal tap, or water just coming out from the mountains. And in Nepal, people still have those systems, like free water just coming out 24/7. So people had communal stuff, like they would wash their clothes in the river, or they would wash their clothes in this communal space where water flows from the mountain freely. So our father's system was not compromisable, because it was all nature based, and it was abundant, and it didn't belong to anyone, and no one was playing monopoly and capitalizing water and homes and electricities. And so the Western system, or the satanic system, slowly stepped in and started taking things away from us, like water, fire, homes, and we started to pay for these things that were just free. And then we became highly compromisable, because we had to work for these things. And if we do not work for these things, then we cannot have water, we cannot have a bed to sleep in. So the model of hard work came in. And we have done that. We have obediently listened to the satanic system and worked really hard, and super motivated and inspired to be part of their system and to be a healthy, functioning body in their system. But now even that layer will be stripped off, and you will be given the mark of the beast. And if you do not get the mark of the beast, even if you have money, you cannot survive. Everything is dependent on your spiritual discernment, your enlightened mind, your humility, and your loving heart will allow you to penetrate and understand some of these very difficult, twisted concepts, because Satan is there to hijack your position and so that you may not inherit the kingdom of our Father and that you will burn in hell with him along with his minions. So you need to use a lot of spiritual discernment, dedicate yourself to Christ and Father if you do not want to partake in the mark of the beast, but you believe that you are going to be hungry and thirsty because your money has no value in the mark of the beast system, that you can only buy and sell via their system. So in these so the mark of the beast is basically the most difficult spiritual layer. So this whole spiritual reality is like a game, and you have to decode it and you have to understand it. You have to understand what Father means to you. You have to understand what food is. You have to understand your personal position in heaven and earth. You have to understand your birthrights. Just a lot of knowledge that you need to have, and you almost have to be like enlightened to understand and play these trickster games with Satan, even though the mark seems universal and like a very advanced technology and like some super intelligent thing that is like way superior than your existence. You still have to use discernment because this is the power trick game that they play on you, so that you believe that you are inferior and then you fall under Satan's trap. Through my personal journey, the greatest lifter of all of this trickster curses and darkness and deception that exists is the Prajna Paramita's Heart Sutra that teaches about emptiness. So when you understand emptiness, the nature of emptiness, that this reality is empty, good or bad can stain you, and that good or bad doesn't exist or has no power over me. And when you can understand this basic concept and free yourself from this reality, then you will have victory over Satan. Otherwise, you will always be tricked and fooled by him. And whatever he does is not real. It's based on tricks just to keep you trapped in the lower reality. You can read the Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra, and it's a verse. And in that verse, Avalokiteshvara realizes Prajna Paramita, and he describes what it means. So when you go through an authentic spiritual journey, you will already realize that this whole reality is based on deception and nothing is real. So Prajna Paramita teaching is showing the same thing. But the layers of deception get stronger and stronger, and you need to use greater and greater discernments, because the lie becomes real. Like Satan's trick could make you go hungry, for example. So there is a lot to penetrate and a lot to understand, which spirituality will give you. So during the end times, we are going to experience the combination of all the darkness that was experienced previously. So everything that was experienced previously, we are going to experience all of them in combination in the end times. And in one of the scriptures, it is called the darkest waters. So we are navigating the darkest waters in combination of everything that has ever taken place. Say, for example, Prophet Elijah that went through the famine. He went through a singular problem, whereas in the end times, we will go through all 12. Apparently, there are 12 problems, and all of those 12 will be combined, and we have to overcome that. So do not just listen to people and disclosures and truths, but gain solid spiritual knowledge so that you are able to overcome this.